Well, we're excited about being in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Found out at practice today, and we love Arizona. Great place to be during this time of year. So we're looking forward to a great game versus Wisconsin. Very tradition-rich football school that I've always watched, but have not been around much. Obviously, with them being up north and being in the other conference, but we're looking forward to it. Our players were excited when I announced it to them after practice today. So we're looking forward to a couple weeks of practice here, and then traveling out to the Valley of the Sun again. We're very familiar with it, and looking forward to a great week out there and a great game against Arizona. And we appreciate Guaranteed Rate and them sponsoring the bowl, and looking forward to being out there for a week.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. And for all the Oklahoma media on here, we went through this drill last year, so you all familiar with the raise your hand function and whatnot, and appreciate your patience if we have any technical difficulties for those of you who remember. We'll start off with Robert Allen from the Cowboy Radio Network. Robert.
Yeah, Mike, I was over there at practice today. How'd you feel about the practice? And again, this was a crazy year. I don't think anybody in the Big 12, other than maybe TCU and K-State, knew where they were going until almost the deadline today.
Yeah, we didn't have any idea. In fact, time I found out, we about, I don't know, 2:30 or whatever, we were already into practice. And so we're thrilled to be going out to Arizona again. We had a good practice today. Guys are out and running around and got them back after a week off. So we're back at it, right in the middle of recruiting and official visits and bowl preparation. The next 3 weeks were the busiest time of the year for us as coaches and players.
My understanding is you'll actually probably leave out on signing day.
Yeah, we'll keep our bowl routine the same that we've had for 17 years. We always go out, and the first night we're in Arizona will be a Sunday night. We'll work our way up to what would be the Saturday game, which would be, I think it's on a Tuesday. We just work our way backwards. I think it ends up being the 21st. And we've been very comfortable with our bowl game routine for, as I said, 17 years now. So there's not any reason for us to change it at this time.
Thanks, Mike.
Got right from the Oklahoman. You're up with Coach Gundy.
Hey, Mike, I know last year you allowed guys who were in the portal to stay with the team through the bowl game. And I'm curious if you have any plans on how you're going to handle that, because obviously everybody is going to be facing a lot of movement here in the coming days. We're
going to look and see where we're at and see what we're dealing with. When you look at our team right now from a health standpoint, we have to be a little careful about what we're going to do or not do, because we need enough healthy guys to practice over the next 3 weeks and then obviously get out there and play a good competitive game. So we'll have to see with what we're faced over the next couple of days. The portal, I think, opens tomorrow. You would like to think by Tuesday evening you would know who's in the portal and who's not. That'd give us a better idea of what we're dealing with at that time.
Thanks, Scott. Garen Emig from the Tulsa World. Garen?
Yeah, Mike, just returning to an old topic, but wanted to get your latest on Spencer's availability, how he's feeling, if he's all in on getting himself ready to play one more game for you this year at quarterback.
I think Spencer's doing really well. Obviously much better than he was 2 weeks ago. It's not an injury that we examine. It's just a how do you feel injury. And my personal opinion is I can't imagine he won't feel good in even another week. That injury, as that tissue the trauma in that tissue starts to go down and scar up a little bit, you feel better and better every day. And I would expect him to feel really good in another week.
Sam Hutchins, you're up for Coach Gundy.
Hey, Mike, with Mason Cobb just recently announcing his intentions to hop in the portal, I'm curious how big of a loss you think that'll be for next year, and how important these additional practices and, of course, the bowl game is to figuring out what you could do at that position next year.
Well, these practices for a bowl game are important. Well, this is something that I've discussed for 17 years now, and the fact that this allows us to have 14 practices, which is essentially a spring ball. And to a certain extent, based on the practices we're allowed to have, it's actually, in my opinion, better than a spring ball. Now, we don't have any JUCOs or transfers or any of the incoming freshmen, but for the players that are on our team, they're going to get an additional 14 practices, which can only help our team.
Thank you. Back to Scott Wright from the Oklahoman. Scott.
Yeah, Mike, Luke Fickle was just on here talking about their quarterback has already announced that he's going in the portal. You're obviously in a position where you've got a starting quarterback who could be heading pro after this year, and you've talked a little bit about the difficulty of managing a quarterback room and just the roster count at that position. But is that becoming a lot more difficult these days?
Well, the numbers game is difficult in general, and so we've had a lot of discussions about this. There's players moving around. It's all over the country. We never know what we're dealing with until, like I said, middle of this week. We should have a pretty good idea where we're at. They have put certain guidelines on the portal, the windows, and that does help with roster management a little bit. But to the extent of how to prepare for the next year, how to keep your depth chart up to par, it's extremely difficult. In being that sometimes you have surprises, and when you have a surprise, you don't really know it. It's tough to go back and start re-recruiting because recruiting's over. Signing date's on the 21st. The majority of the high school players and really a large percentage of what would be transfers by position, you have somewhat already recruited or you haven't recruited. So if you get a number of surprises late, it can really throw you a curveball. The one difficult position is the quarterback position because they're more active than any other position based on, in most cases, only one guy plays. And so you see more activity there, and that is difficult. And so, when Garen asked about Spencer, when you think about a guy like Spencer, an opportunity to go to the pros or come back, at some point you would like to know where you're at based on, do we need to add numbers or do we stay the course? It is one of the more challenging things we're doing right now, that I have shared this with you over the last couple of months. There are new standards and regulations going in with the portal based on a player that goes in the portal if he has multi years, and what's tied into him if you take a young man off the portal that has more than 1 year left. So I think that starting next year, that'll reduce the number some, which will help with the consistency across college football. This year, I don't know if there's enough players that have been educated in that area to know exactly what they're getting into at this time.
Garen, we'll go back to you.
Yeah, Mike, last year's game, the importance was evident just at face value, playing Notre Dame in a New Year's Six. That speaks for itself. If the stage isn't quite as big this year, I take it you see this as just as important an opportunity for your program. Explain to me why that would be.
Well, every game we play is important, and I've always said this. We try to instill basic values and core principles in our team from day one. And it doesn't make a difference who we're playing, where we're playing, what the records are. We're playing in a game. And so we all signed up for this. We have an obligation to compete, to prepare, to play the very best we can, coach the very best we can, put the best product on the field every game. And so this game is just as important as any other game. I'm not arguing the national stage of last year compared to whatever this is. This game's on TV. It's at nighttime. A lot of people are going to see it. It's in a great location, and it's in against a very well-known opponent. Wisconsin's very well known traditionally football-wise. So I think there'll be a lot of exposure with this game, and I haven't met with the team really and gone into detail with this, but we're expecting guys to practice and prepare for this game just like we did last year.
All right, we'll close out the session with the third time's a charm with Scott Wright from the Oklahoman. Scott.
Thanks, Scott. Hey, Mike, we were talking to Coach Fickle just a little bit ago, and he doesn't know exactly what his role is going to be, and doesn't know which coordinators might be involved exactly at this time. And I know you haven't been, looking at any film yet at this point, but going against a team that's got that kind of potential movement on the coaching staff, does that impact how you prepare, or how does it impact your preparation, if at all?
Well, I think somewhat, just knowing who's there and who's not there. That's not, obviously that's not a luxury we have right now. I'm guessing at some point we will. I don't know that Coach Fickle's a smart guy. He's been tremendously successful. So I'm sure that at some point he'll decide what he wants to do, or whoever's calling the shots there. I guess it's him. But he's had tremendous success in what he's done, and obviously been a head coach a while. And so he'll make those decisions. I don't know that it's something that's going to be secretive. I don't know what advantage that would be, but at this time for Oklahoma State, over the next 8 or 9 practices, we'll be concerned with ourselves and our offense and our special teams and our defense and all the areas we need to improve. And we'll sprinkle some of Wisconsin in based on what we see on tape. That's all we can go on at this time. And then at some point, the last 6 practices or so, probably have a pretty good idea maybe of what they're going to do. And then we start to work in some more looks versus what we think Wisconsin will show up with out there in Arizona.
Coach, we had a late ad with Robert Allen. I'll let you make the call whether we allow Robert to ask one or
Yeah,
not.
go ahead. Let him in.
All right, Robert, have one more at it.
I appreciate that, Coach. Just to follow up to Scott, because it is kind of an interesting scenario, the blending of 2 coaching staffs. And he mentioned a couple of his Cincinnati assistants have already come with him. So do you have your analysts, your people glance at some Cincinnati tape, maybe try and decipher some things that they could pull over pretty quickly and implement, or do you strictly stick with what they've done this season and that's their personality?
We'll look at both.
Okay.
We wait to see what carryover we have, and not that we would be 100%, but try to see a possibility of schemes, concepts wise, whoever he's brought over. We have to do our homework on both sides. And then in most cases, you have to kind of take into account what's actually realistic. But I guess they could do whatever. I don't know if I haven't paid any attention to it. I mean, I didn't even really know that he took the job, to be honest with you. So we'd have to know, did he bring his coordinators with him, not bring his coordinators? I don't know. We'll have to look at both and see what we do and try to give ourselves the best chance to come up with what plan gives us the opportunity to practice what we think we'll see on game day out there in Arizona.
For more information, you can visit tulsaworld.com.